I have this short clip of me doing Jiu Jitsu, okay? And there's something to be learned from it. I'm attacking, it's not working. It's close. Attack a different way, not quite working. Attack a different way, not quite working. Attacking a different way, not quite working. Attacking a different way. Finally starts to work right here at the end. Okay. So here we go. Okay, look. Attack, 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 attack. Right? I was in a position to spam my partner with attacks that did not work until they did. It did not work until the very end, right? But I was spamming him with attacks, and it was all offense for me, all defense for him. You know, what does that have to do with foreign policy? Kind of everything, okay? American hegemony, the unipolar moment, afforded America the ability to throw garbage attacks at everybody. America could do bad strategies, a global war on terror, invading fucking Iraq. You know what I mean? Shitting the bed on Burmese genocide of the Rohingya, shitting the bed on North Korea policy for 40 fucking years, right? Causing the Asian financial crisis and then blaming it on Asian corruption, which is low-key racist in hindsight, you know, bankrolling the Saudi war in Yemen, and then now we're literally fighting it on their behalf, you know, the global financial crisis. I would argue NATO expansion. These are all versions of shitting the bed on policy for 40 fucking years. And yet America remained the dominant power through most of that time. It was the unipolar moment for most of that time. What I'm saying is precisely what the video of me strangling my partner illustrates. If you have a dominant position, you can afford to have bad strategies and not necessarily pay a price. As long as you secure your position of domination, you can be incompetent at your attacks. You can spam them with bad choices, you know, like half-assed chokes like I was doing where it wasn't quite working. You can fail repeatedly and you don't necessarily suffer for it. They suffer for it, but you don't necessarily suffer for it so long as you're securing your dominant position. And so on an instinctive level, I think a lot of like Washington foreign policy people, they grasp the importance of American primacy for precisely this reason. They understand that if America is not the dominant power, their hands will be somewhat tied as they try to do the next invasion of Iraq. As they try to do stuff like that in the future, they know that they will not be as successful if they're doing it from a lower power position. If others have greater power relative to them, it might be harder to do that shit. What I'm trying to point out is that, like, if you secure the dominant position, you can keep failing so long as you retain the dominant position. As soon as you start to lose that dominant position, then you're in trouble. Your margin for error decreases. You cannot afford to fail anymore. You cannot afford to be incompetent anymore. And this is the great lesson for foreign policy heads with the Jiu Jitsu metaphor. This was one of the arguments that I made in the concluding chapter of this book. I said specifically, America's margin for error, to fuck up and not cause a nuclear holocaust, to not cause World War III, that margin for error is decreasing. That margin for error is gone. Like the risks of war in Asia in particular are higher than they've been in 40 years. They keep getting higher and higher, these risks. They keep accumulating. And so if America exercises bad judgment or incompetence under these new conditions, under multipolarity, the world is fucked. We end up in great power war or nuclear war. That is that's for sure, 100%, right? But the problem is that the people who like existed, I mean, my generation, the generation before me, the people who like staffed the unipolar moment, these fucks, they don't know anything but American unipolarity. They take American domination for granted, and they're frantic right now about great power rivalry stuff and securing American primacy because they don't know how to think or imagine anything other than American primacy. The ability to dominate is like in their identity. They're used to being able to sort of make really horrific decisions that are incompetent, that hurt a lot of people, but where American power itself doesn't necessarily pay a price. But one thing we know is that no hegemon lasts forever. Primacy doesn't last forever. It always declines. Every empire falls off a fucking cliff eventually. The idea that you're gonna like be the exception to that is stupid and ahistorical. But the real thing is that like, if you think that you can operate policy in this mode of competition as if it's still the unipolar moment, as if you can just have rivals and sanction everybody and threaten war and use your force posture to try and solve political problems, like that mindset is going to get us into World War III. Because we used to have margins for error where our power position were not affected by our poor judgment. And we're in a world now where our poor judgment is going to affect our power position. And that comes in the form of World War III, which is going to fuck us. But it also comes in the form of, like, going back to the dollar primacy conversation, comes in the form of losing dollar primacy, even though policymakers are using resources to try and defend dollar primacy.